Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome back to Let's Play the Stanley Parable. Now, I'm going to follow all of his directions, 'cause I'm such a good little boy. That wasn't awkward at all. Alright, so anyway, I'm just going to skip ahead of the initial dialogue since you already know it. If you haven't seen it, go back see my other video. This is a story of the man named Stanley.
Stanley decided to go to the staff lounge
Yes, I
to
did.
check on his co-workers.
Absolutely.
He never functioned well by himself
No, I do not.
and constantly needed support and guidance from others.
Yes.
So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Indeed. Or indubitably.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Absolutely. I mean, there is a whole nother story to this game, I suppose. I'm assuming I haven't played it, so maybe it's all a lie and I'll die soon. Hello?
As Stanley entered the lounge, he was horrified to find not a single person here.
There's not a single
He
person
decided he would walk up to see his boss, hoping that he would find an answer there.
I think I'll go see my boss. I hope there's an answer there. Well, that looks complicated. My word. Hello? 251?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Oh, God!
office.
Choices! Choices! There are literally so many choices in this game, I'm assuming.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
I couldn't.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss,
Yes.
of admitting that he had left his post during work hours.
Couldn't take
He
it.
might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, was it really worth taking that risk?
Yeah.
All because he believed everyone had disappeared?
It is mysterious.
His boss would think he was crazy.
Yeah.
And then something occurred to Stanley.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
No.
Everyone I know simply vanishing out of the blue, there's almost no other explanation for it.
No.
And a nagging fear began to creep up in his mind. Questions that had been there all along. He just hadn't put his finger on them yet.
My.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down?
No.
Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
No.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
My.
Was he just walking around in circles?
Oh, my word.
Where am I, he thought.
Where am I?
And the more he found himself unable to answer these questions, the more questions continued to arise, until he came to the issue that had been slowly boiling until he could ignore it no longer.
Oh, no.
Why is there a voice in my head, dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
No.
Suddenly, every door slammed shut. No! Stanley screamed. I need to get out of here. I need to know that there's something out there. I need to know it's not just all in my head.
Oh.
And he screamed and touched at his skull as the voice grew harsher and the music in the background rose higher and higher. And then, moments before collapsing to the ground, Stanley clenched his fists and screamed to anyone who might be listening, I'm not real!
I'm not real!
I'm not real!
No, I'm not!
Don't believe any of it! None of it's real!
No!
And then everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other.
All right, then.
She got dressed, went to work, clocked in, clocked out, and then she walked home.
Okay.
But her walk on this day was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk.
That's quite an ending.
Moments after seeing him, she would turn, run to the nearest police station, and call for an ambulance. But for just a few brief seconds, she merely stood there, unable to move. The tragedy was not the death of a single person. It was that she would never know this man's story,
Right.
never hear in his own words what had happened to him, or what he believed had happened to him. For to know these things would be to exist inside the head of the man himself. So all she could do was observe from a distance and pity him. But Mariella had places to be
Yes.
and people to meet with, very
Absolutely.
important people, whose impressions of her would affect her career and indeed the rest of her life.
No time for Stanley.
She stood there for only a moment, looking down at the body. and then she ran.
Yarp. That was awesome. I didn't expect that I would hit one of the endings just like that. But man, that's why I love these experimental games. Now, let's not make the choice that leads to instant death, please. Up the stairs we go to the boss. Boss! Boss, there's a...
Entering his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. It was at this point that he began to feel dizzy and a little sick, and even thought he might pass out, when suddenly he noticed a keypad next to the filing cabinet in the corner of his boss's office. Stanley had never seen this panel before, and had no idea what combination of numbers would produce any result. In fact, only Stanley's boss knew this, since the panel withheld access to the boss's greatest, darkest secret. And so he had assigned the keypad a combination that only he could possibly know. The number of his freshman dorm number in college. 1957.
Oh, okay.
But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Or could I have? 1957.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. Stanley ventured forth into the newly opened passageway.
I'm Stanley. I pushed the buttons and the door opened up. Well, I like pushing buttons.
As he drew deeper into the bowels of the building,
He said bowels.
Stanley had no idea where he was or what this place held.
He said place.
And just as he began to think he might not discover a thing, he emerged into a long room to find rows and rows of monitors. Screens with a number above it.
I say screens.
Stanley noticed, however, that these were not random numbers, but the number of employees who worked in the building, his co-workers. Even his own number, 427, had a place on the wall. But why a setup so elaborate, he asked. Was this simple surveillance, or something even more? And as if in answer to his question, the wall slid open before him, revealing the ultimate truth of the situation.
Say what? Okie dokie. I'm gonna make a save here. Okay. Save.
An enormous control panel Stanley discovered, but not one that controlled simple machinery. Buttons were labeled with emotions. Happy, sad. Levers and knobs controlled actions. Walking, eating, doing work, or watching TV. Every input on this device monitored not the functions of a machine, but of a human being.
A human machine.
And the reality began to sink in. Stanley, like so many other people, reduced to images on a monitor, had been under someone's control, always at the mercy of this machine. Could this have been the only reason employee number 427 was content with his boring job? That a machine had altered his emotions to accept it blindly?
Seems like it.
He began to feel an unbridled rage, and at the peak of his anger, something happened. A spark. Stanley looked up and saw the generator overhead, still providing some small amount of power to the machine, keeping it alive.
Okay.
And knowing that this generator was all that kept the controls running, Stanley moved to the ladder in the back of the room
I sure
and
did.
began to climb towards the rafters.
Okay. I climbed good. Did I mention my name's Stanley? Them some pretty lads. I'm just assuming it's Stanley.
The higher Stanley climbed, the closer he felt
I
to
feel
freedom,
close to freedom.
the further from
I
enslavement.
feel far from enslavement. Oh, I climb ladders good. Hey, look, a door thingy. Hey, look, some colors. Huh? Say what? Ooh, looks like another choice. I'm only gonna get to be able to play so many choices here, so you guys definitely, if you want to play the game for yourself, click a link in the description below and download it. It's this is awesome. I turned it red.
Blackness.
Blackness.
Power gone.
Uh-oh.
All alone.
Oh, no.
And then...
Ah! Ooh! What a good going here? Huh?
As he stepped through the door
Yeah.
into the fresh outside air, a feeling of liberation rushed through Stanley's body.
Ow!
He had seen power.
Yeah.
He had seen enslavement.
Uh-huh.
And he had destroyed it.
Yeah.
The underling was in control now.
That's me.
He had found his leading role.
Uh-huh.
Stanley never discovered why everyone had gone missing, nor how and when he had come under the machine's control. But it didn't upset him terribly, because he knew that this was how things were meant to happen. All he felt was a delight unlike any he had ever known before. Never again would he follow someone else's orders without question.
Nuh-uh.
Never again would anyone tell Stanley where to go, what to do, or how to feel.
I think I'm gonna fly
No
now.
more bosses. No more instructions on a screen.
Uh-huh.
Stanley decides for himself now.
Damn right. I agree with
And he stepped out into the world, and he felt the cool breeze upon his skin. And Stanley was happy.
you. Is there something else? Ah, nope, that was it. Man, I just love these games like this. I mean, I kind of want to encourage you guys to shut off the thing right now and just try it for yourself, because like things like this, imaginative games are what gaming is all about. But just because I know people would ask for it, I'm going to do the other end. I want to control these people. I also like acting like Stanley.
Oh, Stanley.
Yeah.
You didn't just activate the controls, did
I
you?
sure did.
After it kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, I do.
Control? Stanley.
Yeah.
Stanley. I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were meant to let it go, turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do better than that.
Oh, yeah?
I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you have. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent,
Okay.
Stanley suddenly realized that he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
Oh, no.
In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex.
Uh-oh.
How long until detonation then? Oh, let's make it say, 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Wow, this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? Go ahead, play with those controls all you like. The real controls are where I'm sitting. Did you really ever believe you held any power? Did you not think I knew what I was doing?
You're evil.
When I erased your co-workers and turned off the machine, I was offering you freedom, an escape.
Oh, no.
I didn't have to do that.
Oh, no.
I've run this story many times, and I don't always set you free. Sometimes you just sit there, day after day after day,
see buttons.
doing your job forever, then dying alone.
Good at pushing buttons.
But when I actually give you the freedom to control your own
I
actions,
like to push buttons.
it's not enough. I let you go, and you trapped yourself just the same. You just weren't made to handle this sort of responsibility, I'm afraid.
I push the
But you
button.
know what you were made for?
Oh, no.
Pushing
I
buttons.
pushed the buttons.
You get it now?
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm enjoying this.
They turned on
Tell you
and then
what,
they turned off.
I'll throw some extra time on the clock just because I'm having so much fun.
You're a douche.
There we go.
Those turn.
You see, I want to watch you for every long second you try to puzzle this out. After all, it should make sense, right? The timer, the nuclear detonation, the mysterious facility, it's all here. This is a video game. Except for one thing there, hero.
Like a puzzle.
You've got no weapon, no vehicle. You don't even know where you're going.
No, I do not.
When you saw that timer, you just instinctively started trying to find an exit, didn't you?
No, I've heard
In
pushing
fact,
buttons.
I bet you're still looking for a
No,
way out.
no.
I bet you're clicking on everything in this room,
No.
trying to open doors or vents or something and solve the puzzle. as though this game has a solution, as though it can be won. That timer is not a catalyst to keep things moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. It's the moment when the hero realizes that despite his best efforts, he is powerless to his environment. And then he lets go.
I do not.
He surrenders. And he dies.
I don't know what these buttons
30
do.
seconds, Stanley. 30 seconds. Until a boom, and then nothing. No ending to this story, just you dying. I suppose you could have gotten an actual ending if you played along, but that just wouldn't have been your style, would it? Instead, you'll perish knowing that the only choice you made here was to turn on that machine and to start this timer. But you won't be alone, because I'm not going anywhere.
No, there's a pattern here.
I'll be here to watch every second of your inevitable life from the time we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Alright then. Oops! Oopsie oops! I bet there was a pattern that I was supposed to hit those lights in, but I couldn't figure it out. Anyway, I'm all out of time, so I challenge you guys to figure it out for yourself. This is where you guys come in. I want you guys to play the game because it's really something that you should experience for yourself. I'll play it, obviously. Maybe I'll play it and record it, but for now, that's gonna have to end it here. So thank you all so much for watching. Click the link in the description below to get the download. Click the annotation for more videos that I've done. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.